Alright, today we're going to be comparing the iPhone 14 to the S23 here. These are some really nice flagships to consider in 2024, and we've got a pretty nice price drop on both of these phones. Actually, they're actually pretty similar. So the S23 you can find for close to around $400, a little bit cheaper, in very good condition, and the iPhone 14 you can actually find for around that $400 as well too. So basically, which flagship is worth it here, which phone has aged a little bit better. Alright, so since this is the base model of both phones, they're pretty somewhat compact. I don't really consider these to be super small phones, but somewhat compact, easy to hold. They both feel pretty comfortable in the hand as well too. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the overall build quality. They're both premium phones, so glass and metal. You have a matte finish on the S23, so you don't get those fingerprint smudges, and you have a glossy finish, which you don't really see the fingerprint smudges except for the Apple logo because of this color. But both phones, they look really good still in 2024 here. I think they look fantastic here. And also what you will notice is that you do have a telephoto lens on the S23, and you only have a dual camera setup on the iPhone 14 here. And besides that, they both are fantastic looking phones still. Talk about the displays on both of these phones. You have a pretty good screen on both of these phones, but the S23 definitely has the better display here by far. So you do have a 6.1 inch display on the S23. It's a dynamic AMOLED. It's 120 Hz HDR10 plus. And then it's 1750 nits peak brightness with a 1080p resolution, 425 for the PPI. And on the iPhone, you do have the Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's also HDR10, but this one only goes up to 1200 nits peak brightness. This does have a slightly higher resolution at 1170 by 2532, and then a higher PPI as well at 460. So the reason why I said this is a better display is because, one, I think the punch hole looks much better than Apple's kind of dated notch that they left on the 14. And then also, you do have on here the 120 Hertz, which is going to make a big difference in terms of your overall gaming quality as well too. But it's not even the 120 Hertz here as well. It's the max brightness, so in direct sunlight, the S23 looks a lot better than the 14. You can see it a little bit easier. But it's not to say that the 14 has a bad display at all. It looks very, very good color-wise. It's a nice looking display, but I think compared to the S23, I don't really think this is a better panel here. So if you're really into displays and content, I would say the 120 Hertz actually stands out the most. Even though the 14 has a pretty smooth 60 Hertz panel, you definitely will feel that 120 Hertz when you're scrolling, web browsing, social media and stuff like that. And also, this comes actually very in handy when we talk about the gaming experience as well. So I think the panel is just a lot better on the S23 here, but you do have a very nice screen on the 14 for sure. Specs a little bit more here. So with the S23, we have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM. With the iPhone, we have the Apple A15, 128 gigs and 6 gigs of RAM. So as you can see, the iPhones always do a fantastic job in benchmarking. As you can see, it does a better job than the S23 in both the single and multi-core scores here. I would say, you guys know me, like I'm not a huge benchmark person, right? Both phones feel really fast, and if you were to ask me, I think the S23, it feels faster simply because of the 120 Hertz, but both of these phones are very speedy. The iPhone is typically going to get into applications a little bit faster, not really a lot faster, but a little bit faster. But I would say the overall smoothness of the 120 Hertz just makes it feel a lot faster or a lot smoother on the S23. But as you guys can see, they're pretty much very similar, and this pretty much, it doubles down basically when we get to gaming performance here. But as you guys can see, the iPhone 14 it's a blazing fast phone. And as far as your heating up and stuff like that, both phones are relatively pretty good at managing heat, and I've never really had any type of performance issues on either of these phones here. So that is really good, but you can see S23 we're already in, or the iPhone we're already in, S23 right behind it. This is one of the reasons why I said the S23, even though it does not have the benchmark scores, It's just a way faster feeling phone. And when it comes to gaming, it's got the 120 hertz on PUBG here, so you get that full 120 frames. So if you're a competitive gamer, you know, you're easily choosing the S23 here. It's just a much better device as far as, you know, playing competitively, getting those frame rates here. Now the iPhone does a fantastic job with gaming as well too, but it just is stuck on the 60. You know, it's stuck on the 60. Now you could do HDR Extreme on here just fine. Everything works just fine. But like I said, it's just stuck on that 60 frames, and it's nowhere near as good as the 120 frames, right? So yeah, so if you're not a gamer, it doesn't really matter. If you're just somebody who's coming in here, you know, you're just playing a couple matches, PUBG, Call of Duty, you don't really care about the, you know, having super high frame rates, then yeah, this doesn't really apply to you. But if you do play games a lot, the S23 is the easy choice here. Let's go ahead and talk about software, because this is a big thing here. So the S23 actually got the Galaxy AI update. So basically, if you are somebody who is really into the, you know, Galaxy AI stuff, you have pretty much majority of the AI stuff on the, you know, S23. You could take advantage of a lot of this stuff. Now with the iPhone, unfortunately, because it's got the limited RAM, it cannot run the Apple Intelligence, so it did not get the, you know, it's not going to get the Apple Intelligence update, which is also another reason. So if you're into Galaxy, or if you're into AI in general, you really like the S23. They're only going to add more AI stuff, and it's really unfortunate that such a powerful phone like the 14 cannot get this Apple Intelligence update. Now, you can download like apps like ChatGPT and stuff, I believe they have for iPhone, but it's not, you know, going to be built into the, you know, the OS and stuff like that. So unfortunately, you know, that's not there. Both phones will be getting software updates as well too, so you don't really have to worry about your software lifespan. You'll be getting plenty of updates for years. Let's check out these speakers. We're going to start with the S23. Yeah, I don't even think it's close. The iPhone with the way better speakers, way louder, way better bass. Yeah, the iPhone easily with the better speakers by far. As far as your biometrics, you do have the fingerprint scanner on the S23, which works great. It's the ultrasonic, but you can also take advantage of Face Unlock. With the iPhone, you can only do the, you know, Face ID, which works perfectly fine, super secure. But I do like having that, you know, that two method. So the deciding factor for a lot of people is actually going to be the camera quality here. So I'm very curious to see what you guys think about this. So with the S23, we do have a 50 megapixel standard here, and then we also do have a 12 megapixel, or excuse me, a 10 megapixel telephoto, 3x optical zoom with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You also have 8K 24 and 30 video with a 12 megapixel selfie that goes up to 4K 60. With the telephoto lens, we actually have zooming capability up to 30 times. Now, with the iPhone, we have a dual camera setup. It's a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. This has 4K 24 through 60, and then we have a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 24 through 60 as well. Because we have no telephoto lens, we're only limited to 5 times zoom. So be sure to let me know what you guys think of the side-by-side stills and video. Alright, so which phone has better battery life? Both of these phones have excellent battery life and screen on time, so it's been really impressive. This one has 100% battery health. My S23 has very good battery health as well too. I wouldn't worry about like screen on time because they both do a fantastic job, especially for smaller phones here. So just going over the battery specs, you have a 3900 milliamp hour battery on the S23 versus the 3279 milliamp on the iPhone 14. The iPhone 14, it does have wireless charging and you do have that MagSafe capability on here. With the S23, you also do have the wireless charging, but you also have reverse wireless charging on the S23 as well that you can take advantage of. Screen on time is excellent on both of these phones. So again, I would say it's more of a tie because they both do a fantastic job with your screen on time. Yeah, so overall, I think if you're choosing between these two phones, it really comes down to the cameras, which phone you think had better cameras, because I think the S23 is just the overall better phone here for sure. You just get a lot more for your money, like the Galaxy AI features. Also, you get the telephoto lens. You also get the 120 hertz. You also get a better gaming experience. So it's kind of like the easier phone to choose, I guess. It's the easy choice. But it really comes down to that objectively, what you thought about the camera. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.